He said, "It's sad they thought that kid had a bomb." She said, "They didn't think he had a bomb." He said, "Yes, they thought he made a bomb and even called the police." She said, "They just wanted to humiliate a little Muslim boy. They didn't think he had a bomb." He said, "Don't be a conspiracy theorist. They might be a little prejudiced, but I'm sure they thought he had a bomb." She said, "Okay, but they didn't evacuate the school like you do when there's a bomb. They didn't call a bomb squad like you do when there's a bomb. They didn't get as far away from him as possible like you do when there's a bomb. Then they put him and the clock in an office, not like you do when there's a bomb. Then they waited with him for the police to arrive, and they put the clock in the same car as the police. Then they took pictures of it." He said they never thought they had a bomb. These are hard times. I'll give a second illustration. In my lifetime, there have been at least 78 mass murders carried out with firearms across America. That's including the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School, only 20 miles south of here, claiming the lives of 27 good people, mostly children. As Nicholas Kristof recently noted in the New York Times, more Americans have died from guns in the United States since 1968 than on the battlefields of all the wars in American history. You've got the NRA arguing that the only thing that can stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. So I assume by the same logic, if you have a kid on the playground who throws a rock at another kid, you just arm all the other kids with rocks and we'll be fine. As Gandhi put it, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. Meanwhile, the Washington Post reports that we've seen more Americans showing support for gun rights than gun control in the years following Sandy Hook. These are very hard times. Turning our gaze abroad, the United Nations reports that extreme violence has forced 60 million people from their homes, a third of whom come from either Iraq or Syria, including almost half of Syria's entire population. The vast majority are fleeing from ISIS, one of the most brutal and powerful terrorist organizations of all time, founded and established by the people that we supposedly conquered when the United States invaded Iraq. Just to put things into perspective, 60 million refugees is 1 out of every 122 people on the planet, which is the largest displaced population we've seen since World War II. There is so much more that we could be talking about on this Yom Kippur. We could talk about the assault against women in the workplace and at the healthcare center. We could talk about the absurdity of people who think that God loves them more if they persecute gay people. We could talk about income and wealth inequality in America, where the top 0.1% is as wealthy as the bottom 90%. The richest country in the history of the world has the worst child poverty rate in the industrialized world. We can't even provide proper care to the veterans who put their lives on the line to protect us. These aren't just hard times. We live in an era where incredulity is overwhelming. We are awash with apathy. On Yom Kippur, we fast to atone for our transgressions and to consider whatever ways in which we may have either actively or passively contributed to the state of the world as we know it. You call this a fast, Isaiah asks. No, this is the fast that I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness, to let the oppressed go free, to share your bread with the hungry, and to take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, to clothe him, and not to ignore your own kin. Isaiah was right. We need to teshuvah, to return to our roots in justice and righteousness, towards our calling to be an or l'goyim, a light unto the nations. We look at the world, and we don't have the privilege to ignore these issues as somebody else's problem. Poverty is a Jewish issue. Unemployment is a Jewish issue. Social welfare is a Jewish issue. Healthcare is a Jewish issue. The environment is a Jewish issue. Just war is a Jewish issue. Caring for American veterans is a Jewish issue. Equality of gender and sexual orientation are Jewish issues. 3-year-old Aylan Kurdi from Syria washes up on the shore of Turkey, and yes, that too is a Jewish issue. These are not political issues. They transcend politics because politics has failed to resolve these issues. It is no exaggeration to say that the heart and the soul of the Torah is justice and righteousness. Deuteronomy demands, tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. References to the widow, the orphan, the stranger living amongst us resound throughout the Torah, which constantly calls upon us to provide for everyone in need. We are commanded to leave the corners of the field for the poor. We are forbidden to oppress a hired servant who is poor and needy, whether he is one of your brothers or one of the strangers who are in your land inside your gates. In this afternoon's Torah portion, we will be commanded not to stand idly by the blood of your neighbor. Isaiah instructs us, cease to do evil, learn to do good, devote yourself to justice, aid the wronged, uphold the rights of the orphan, defend the cause of the widow. The prophet Amos assails those who would trample the heads of the poor into the dust of the ground and make the humble walk a twisted course, like so many refugees across Europe today. After the Torah, the Talmud carried the banner of justice and righteousness, and Rabbi Yehuda used to say, 10 strong things were created in this world. A mountain is strong, but iron cuts through it. Iron is strong, but fire can make it bubble. Fire is strong, but water quenches it. Water is strong, but clouds contain it. Clouds are strong, but wind, ruach, can scatter them. Ruach, which can mean wind or breath, is strong, but the body holds it in. The body is strong, but fear breaks it. Fear is strong, but wine dissipates its effects. Had a sense of humor, that Rabbi Yehuda. Wine is strong, but sleep overcomes its power. Death is stronger than all of them, but tzedakah, tzedek, justice, righteousness, may save a person from certain death. In fact, the Mishnah teaches whomever saves a single life, it is as though that person has saved the entire world. After the Talmud, the medieval codes reaffirmed that justice and righteousness are paramount to Judaism. Moses Maimonides, that 12th century genius and leader of the entire Jewish world, asserted in his Mishneh Torah that there is no greater or more glorious joy than to bring happiness to the hearts of poor people, orphans, widows, and strangers. One who brings joy to the hearts of these individuals in need, domeh l'shechina, resembles God's most intimate presence. The 18th century Italian Kabbalist Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto equated corporate greed with number 8 of the 10 Commandments. He said, most people are not outright thieves, taking their neighbor's property. However, in their business dealings, many of them get a taste of stealing whenever they permit themselves to make an unfair profit at the expense of someone else. Through modern times, Judaism has upheld justice and righteousness as the bastion of virtue. It was the eminent philosopher Martin Buber who said, when people come to you for help, do not turn them off with pious words, saying, have faith and take your troubles to God. Act instead as if there were no God, as though there were only one person in all the world who could help, only yourself. Holocaust survivor, author, and activist Elie Wiesel said, true, we are often too weak to stop injustices, but the least we can do is protest against them. True, we are too poor to eliminate hunger, but in feeding one child, we protest against hunger. True, we are too timid and powerless to take on all the guards of all the political prisons in the world. But in offering our solidarity to one prisoner, we denounce all the tormentors. True, we are powerless against death, but as long as we help one man, one woman, one child live 1 hour longer in safety and dignity, we affirm a human's right to live. The civil rights movement would not have been the success that it was without the work of Jewish activists like my personal friends Al Vorspan, Rabbi Israel Dresner, Rabbi Everett Gendler, and so many others who modeled what it means to walk with God by marching with millions for the human rights of all people. Like so many Jews involved in the civil rights movement, they understood that they were doing so in honor of the Jewish values of justice and righteousness. When he marched with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel described the Jewish commitment to human rights like this. He said, "The first Jewish conference on religion and race took place in Egypt. The main participants were Pharaoh and Moses. Moses said, 'Thus saith the God of Israel, let my people go.' And Pharaoh answered, 'Who is this Lord that I should heed his word? I will not let them go.' The outcome of that summit meeting has not come to an end. Pharaoh is not ready to capitulate. The Exodus began, but is far from being complete." These are hard times, but they're no harder than they were during the civil rights movement or the days when the Cossacks were sacking the shtetls, let alone the days of Moses and Pharaoh. Yes, these are hard times, but we don't have to stand for this. We don't have to hide like ostriches with our heads in the sand, pretending like we have no idea what's going on in the world. Is that the kind of people that we want to be? What responsibilities do we have the integrity to assume? What values are we going to model for the next generation? I want to start a Tikkun Olam task force. There's so much that we could be doing right here to feed the hungry, to provide shelter to those who have none. We could fill the newspapers and the social media with persuasive pieces advocating for the values that we hold most dear. We could meet with congressmen and senators. We can march on Washington if we want to. This January, I'm taking our high school students to Washington for the Litakein Social Justice Seminar at the Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism, where we'll be connecting with hundreds of youth from across the country, studying Jewish values to see what they have to say about contemporary issues like LGBTQ equality, reproductive rights, Israel, and the environment. On the final day of the program, the kids actually lobby Congress themselves with the speeches that they deliver in the offices of our congressmen and senators. I've done this before, and I can tell you it is transformative for the kids who go on programs like this. Many of them write about the experience in their college application essays. And next year, not this coming year, but the year after that, I would love to take a group of people from this congregation to the Consultation on Conscience, hosted by the Religious Action Center in Washington. It's the grown-up version of the Litakein seminar on steroids. And I'm telling you, it is inspiring. Speakers have included Al Gore, Michael J. Fox, Madeleine Albright, Hillary Clinton, Deval Patrick, Cory Booker, to name a few. Training is provided to teach us how to be more productive. And there are opportunities to learn about what important works are being done in other congregations. Armed with Jewish values, participants join delegations to lobby congressmen and senators. I've been 4 times, and it's always an empowering experience. Investing our time and energy in Jewish values is not only community building, bonding, and fun, but it empowers us to actually do something as a Jewish community, to stand up and fight against everything that we see wrong in this world, and to actually do something to repair the damage done, and to set the world back on track towards a future that we can look forward to. I'm serious about this. Monday, October 19th at 7:30 p.m., I would like to convene a meeting for anyone with the gumption to face the challenges of the world that we live in head on. We'll assess what issues we want to address on a local level, a national level, an international level, and a Jewish level. We'll set an agenda for what we hope to accomplish over the course of the year. We'll strategize a plan of attack, and we'll set a course of activities that we can conduct together. I'm aiming for fewer meetings and more activities. Rabbi Tarfon would say, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, velo ata ben chorin livatel mimena. Although you are not required to complete the task, neither are you at liberty to abstain from it. And Hillel would say, Im ein ani li mili, if I am not for myself, who shall be for me? Ukesha'ani la'atzmi ma'ani, but if I am only for myself, what am I? V'im lo akshav ematai, and if not now, when? I'd like to conclude with these words from the prophet Isaiah. If you remove the chains of oppression, the menacing hand, the malicious word, if you make sacrifices for the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall shine in the darkness and your night become bright as noon. Adonai will guide you always. God will slake your thirst and drought and restore your body's strength. You shall be like a watered garden, like an unfailing spring. Your people shall rebuild the ancient ruins and lay the foundations for ages to come. You shall be called repairer of the breach, restorer of streets to dwell in. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Gemar Tov. We continue with a song from the choir.